All rise to drink. Welcome to Sidebar Sessions by CD Law, your personal injury law firm. Your hosts, Miguel Custodio and Vineet Dubey. Two lawyers and guests breaking down law and life over a glass of wine. Get ready. This is Sidebar Sessions.
Happy New Year from Sidebar Sessions. We are starting out our first episode of the year with our esteemed guest, Tom Feher. Tom, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, and Happy New Year to you guys.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too.
You as well. Quick congratulations are in order. Tom has a 2-month-old.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's right. Thank you so much.
Which you had since the last time we had lunch. So congratulations
Thank you.
on the
Yes.
new baby.
Yes.
Thank you. Now it's I got a 6-year-old boy, 3-year-old daughter, and I got a 2-month-old son. So
Very
boy,
nice.
girl, boy.
So
Nice.
you are in it
Nice.
right now.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome.
All right. Can we get some wine?
All right.
All right. Vineet, you want to introduce the wine?
This is a 2018 Duckhorn Discussion Blend. I actually think you got me this bottle for a gift a few years ago, which is awesome.
Yeah, Vineet, back in the days when I first met him, he was really into Duckhorn, right?
Yes. Back when I used to drink a lot more than I do now, Duckhorn was like one of my wines of choice.
Yeah.
Because price point is not crazy. Quality that and this is back when
Yeah.
we were very you were just more cognizant about what you were spending on wine, and so for the bang for your buck, it was a very good wine back in the day. So
And if you're ever in Napa, their property is beautiful.
yeah,
Have you ever been?
Yes.
Oh, it's
Yes,
beautiful.
been once.
It's a great place to go and try some wine.
had many a night back in the day just steaks and just polishing off
Yeah.
bottles of Duckhorn.
And their cheap version is the decoy, which is pretty good.
Which isn't bad.
That's also
Yeah.
a good
Not a bad one.
price point.
Yeah.
I am not drinking, so I am having some cranberry juice.
I thought we were going to pretend.
Yeah.
He's an honest lawyer. He's an honest
He
lawyer.
just
Yeah, thank
blew
you.
it. He just blew it.
It's hard to find those.
Hey, but
You're right.
But if anything, like now people are starting to drink less. I mean, we all know that, right? Wineries are starting to not make as much money now. And so look, if anything, I'm representing that population, the population that's not drinking too much. So
Well, people are getting conscious of what it does to you.
Yeah.
But I think as we're getting older too, you see, your body doesn't metabolize alcohol or
Yeah.
the poisons,
the carcinogens, right?
Yeah.
Right, Vineet?
That's right. Absolutely. And we all have kids now, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
being hungover in the morning is not really an option with the kids.
No, it's
Right.
not, and it's not a good thing.
Kids or no kids. I mean, you just wake up, you're like,
that's
You can't be as present for them
Yeah.
and with
Yes.
them, if you're,
Yes.
even you could say the same thing even if you're sick or injured, right? If you're just not at your full or
Yep.
even close to your potential or capacity, you can't really be present.
That's right.
important.
and that's a great
That's right.
point. That's a great point. So cheers.
Yeah, that being said, cheers.
That being said, I'm about to leave my present.
Yes. Oh, I could tell I sense some cranberry notes. Yeah. Okay. How is it?
That's a good wine.
Good, right?
good.
Good. Takes me back. The Duckhorn days.
Usually I'm a little so I enjoy wine. I used to never know. I used to not know anything about wine. I've learned a thing or two about it. Like there's white and there's red. So cabs are a real good wine to get into if you don't know a lot about wine because they tend to be fruit forward. So it's more palatable for a new palate. And eventually I kind of got into Italian wines. Like Brunellos.
Brunello.
Brunellos
Nice.
are one of my
Nice.
favorite type of wine varietal. So.
Nice. And they're cheaper.
They are
like
cheaper.
European wines
Yeah.
are way cheaper than the Napas and the ones from Paso Robles. It's just I don't know why. I mean, they're just as good, if not better.
Napa's got a big name, right?
Yeah.
So
Name recognition.
Just Chiantis that they have at the table in Italy. Super cheap. Get the job done. Delicious.
for
you know?
sure.
well, if you're in Italy and you're drinking Italian wine, it's the price points are great and you get really really good wine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like you eat sushi here and you do an omakase and it's it's expensive, but you could eat sushi in the subway or outside. You were just in Japan.
Yeah.
And it's the quality of the fish is amazing.
Unreal.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And
Outside the fish market where they're just slicing it fresh from that morning that came in on the boat.
That fish market is amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up? Tell us, how Tom Feher grew up. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, is always an interesting story when you start, telling the tale that made you. I am the son of immigrants. My father is Eastern European. My mother's Eastern European. My father was in Hungary, born and raised. My mom in Romania. And my father.
And were they both communists at the time when they were
big time communists? No,
right?
I'm just kidding. They
Being
weren't.
raised?
They were not.
Oh,
they were not. No. Hungary wasn't. So my
trying to be historical over here, and I just got shot down.
Yeah, were they commies?
He's like, nope.
Like my dad.
They were not behind the Iron Curtain, sir.
My dad said you play two songs at my funeral: "God Bless America" and Elvis. He was like, those are the two songs he wanted played. So they came from horrible conditions. My father was a mechanic in the Hungarian army during World War II. And he actually had a son and a wife, and we don't know exactly when he was born. I can tell you more about that in a minute. But he came over here on war reparations because Hungary during World War II was a very the country. You had portions of the country that were Nazi, and portions that weren't, and every town was different. And my father happened to marry a Jewish woman. He wasn't Jewish himself; he was an orphan. And their son was, baptized Lutheran, but it didn't matter to at least where they were at, and they had captured his wife, his mother-in-law, and his son. And he was able to rescue his wife only, and then came here to the States on war reparations.
Wow.
Yeah, so heavy stuff.
So you had a brother,
half brother,
who
was
you've
killed,
never met.
never met.
Was killed in a concentration camp.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
And then my mom was a chemist in Romania, and she worked in a hospital, and the conditions there were they were horrible. And she knew she had to find a way out, and she was somehow able to get like a temporary passport visa type situation to come to the U.S. And she thought she would see pictures of like the farmer's market at the Grove and all this fresh fruit and produce, and she thought it was American propaganda. She's like, there's no way they have that much, because she's growing up under a communist dictatorship at the time. And I mean, you go to the store and you want food, but all they got is toilet paper. I mean, horrible conditions.
Yeah.
She was able to come to the States, and my father was, at this time, his wife had passed away. He'd been alone for a while. He knew who my mom was, and they connected through relatives and friends, they asked him, would you marry this woman so she can get citizenship? Which is something that happens. But my mom came over here, stayed with my father. They were just friends. He bought her all this stuff to, kind of welcome her. Tons of milk, cheese, eggs. My mom's kind of lactose intolerant. But they stayed together. My mom got a job as a clinical lab worker. My father had his own auto repair shop. He bought a piece of property here in California and repaired cars called Steve's Auto Repair. And they stayed together and they got married. And then after that, they're like, what are you doing with your life? I'm like, well, nothing. I don't really have plans. So why don't we have a child? And then I came about, and I got a younger brother as well. He's 5 years younger than me. He's an economist up in Sacramento. And, it was an interesting life because I didn't have roots here in this country. And so growing up in my neighborhood, we had a very diverse neighborhood. I grew up in North Hollywood, and, we had Guatemalan family, Filipino family. My next door neighbor was half Mexican and half El Salvadorian, which is kind of rare. You don't see that.
Yeah.
That's really rare, right? And, I remember just going and playing with kids, and I probably was the only white kid in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Not to say that it was a poor neighborhood or anything like that, because sometimes that's associated with that, or to say it was just a multicultural neighborhood in North Hollywood. And I really liked growing up there. And it gave me a lot of different outlooks on life. And being Eastern European or having parents like that, they got me into ice hockey. Part of that was I went to a school in North Hollywood, and next door to the school was an ice rink. So my mom's like, what am I going to do with this kid? So I started ice skating at 3 years old, and I started playing hockey by the time I was 5, and I played competitively.
It's a lot of equipment, right?
Yeah.
It's a ton of equipment.
I saw, so where did donations, did they just...
It's an expensive
It's
sport.
an expensive sport, right?
Yeah,
Like
it is.
hockey's a lot of stuff.
It's a very expensive sport, but what was interesting is probably a quarter or a third of the kids' dads were lawyers.
Really?
And my dad was a mechanic, and his hands were dirty. I would go to the auto repair shop and watch him work, and I'd clean spark plugs and just hang out there in the auto shop when I was really young. I thought it was really cool. And it was on Melrose Boulevard, when it was still nice to sort of walk around Melrose, and Melrose was taking a few hits.
Well, he got some good property then, huh?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. We still own it to this day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
Nice.
Yeah. But I asked my dad, I'm like, what do these dads do that are wearing suits? And he's like, they're lawyers. And I didn't even know what a lawyer did, but I just said, I think I want to be that.
Is that what planted the seed?
I think, I was 5 years old. and
Interesting, huh?
I'd gone through a few iterations of what I wanted to be: a scientist, a train conductor, or a garbage man. And then I just thought I was fascinated by trains and planes and just machinery when I was very, very little.
I was just telling somebody about how in my house, we've passed like that stage where your kids are like infatuated with the garbage man and the garbage trucks. And you'll go through it. They're about 2, 3, they'll be all about it.
And they love it. I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to be a lawyer, and when you come from like immigrant parents, when they hear things like lawyer, doctor, right away that resonates. It's like, okay, they're ambitious. They want to do something.
Respect. It's like you look up to them type of thing.
So I kind of got it in my head I wanted to be a lawyer, and everyone was like, okay, well, that's great. And they all sort of funneled that, or they all supported that. And then I had sort of different ideas as I grew up. I mean, I played a ton of sports. I played, like I said, hockey, soccer, basketball, baseball. So we're very sport family, very active. On a Saturday, you could go be playing 3 different games.
Yeah.
And I mean, I always loved that. And there was a part of me that thought maybe I would be a professional hockey player, but I knew that wasn't really, like, I wasn't good. I could see how good some of these other players were.
Yeah.
And I respected that. And I was like, I'm just not as gifted, and just knew that wasn't, where I would be, where I would end up. I fell in love with a lot of different things in high school and in college. I liked theater, and being from LA, it's more Hollywood, but I thought theater was fascinating because there was a couple ideas there. One idea is that when you play a character, or you learn a character, you find that character inside of you. And so there's a part of you that's inside of everybody else, sort of. And this idea is that we're all connected. And there's something really deep, powerful, and to some degree magical about that. I mean, if we're all connected, which I do believe we are, like on a fundamental level. And maybe you can even think of like humans as one organism potentially. But I thought that was fascinating, and also this idea of being present and in the moment. That was something that theater taught or emphasized, how important it is to be in the moment. And these are all skills that I think are very important as a trial lawyer.
I was going to say, I feel like that translates very well to what you currently do.
Yeah.
It sure does. And another thing is, I was introduced to just meditation early on, and I thought that was fascinating, visualization. I thought that was interesting. And then in college, I sort of took a step back, and I started reading a lot.
Where'd you go to college, first of all?
So I went to UC Santa Cruz.
Okay.
Banana slugs?
I was not smart enough to get into other UCs. But I ended up going there, and it's funny, they labeled it a party school when I went. And I went 2001, so literally I was about to fly to school, and 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was crazy.
Wow.
So that was postponed, and we ended up driving up north to Santa Cruz, and I reluctantly went there.
Where
but
did you
it's-
want to go?
I was hoping to get into. I wanted to get into UCLA because it was in LA, and I just didn't have. I mean, I had good grades. I had a not as good score on my SATs. I also there was a thought in my mind. I was like, oh, I might want to go to theater school or art school. And my parents were like,
They have a really good UCLA does, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
My parents were like, no way. No.
So did you do a lot of play? I mean, how many plays did you do in high school?
Not a lot, actually. In high school, we did, like a half a dozen plays and musicals. Because it's 4 years in high school, and they don't really let you be part of it until, like, your second, third, or fourth year.
And then they probably do one a semester or something.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't get into it till kind of
Yeah.
like third year, but we did some improv. So
okay. Yeah.
if you ever watch Whose Line Is It Anyway,
Yeah.
things like that. So that was fun. But in college, I fell in love with reading, learning, theory. I was like, where was all of this in high school?
Where'd you go to high school?
Notre Dame.
Okay.
So in Sherman Oaks.
Private.
Yeah. And, I thought, do I want to pursue academia? Do I want to get a graduate degree? So I kind of flirted with these different ideas. I studied a lot of theory, which is not good for much.
Theory in terms of what?
Political theory,
You're a
philosophy.
poli-sci major?
So I triple majored in psychology, philosophy, and political science. You know what 3 BAs gets you? 1 BS. But it was
Or the ability to BS.
Yeah. Well, the way I looked at it was sort of philosophy was how you think about things critically and how you think about problems that exist and whether they're really problems. Politics or political science was how people work together, come together, decide issues, determine how we're going to govern one another. And then psychology is sort of how we function as humans. So I thought it was really, really interconnected. I was fascinated by all those areas. So it was a great time for me intellectually and reading and opening my mind and connecting with something that I hadn't. So these are all things.
It's like a deep thinker for sophomore in college, for 19, 20-year-old to be like thinking about that as opposed to.
Well, as opposed to partying. It's apparently
Did you party in college?
Not, not really, actually. It wasn't. It just, Santa Cruz is there's no fraternities really, and there's no football team, right? And I mean, they're banana slugs.
Yeah.
They had an ultimate frisbee team, which I was a part of that.
Oh, you were?
There you go. Yeah.
And the Lost Boys.
And the
right?
Lost Boys.
You got the Lost
Yeah.
Boys.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Vineet, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful campus, and it was a blessing in disguise. It was a great thing to do. But I stuck with my 5-year-old dream of becoming a lawyer, and I ended up going to Pepperdine and becoming a lawyer. Something I really cherished. I really cherish that I have that license now, that I've been able to do it, and it's very much a part of my soul being a lawyer.
What how was your experience at Pepperdine?
Yeah, Pepperdine's a good school. I think I fell in love more with the doing part than just reading. I never really cared too much about burying my head in a book and then, IRAC, that's the formula they teach you right there. I actually got better grades when I stopped going to class. Does that make any sense to you? It doesn't make much sense to me. But
It's counterintuitive.
It's counterintuitive. But really what they're getting you geared up for is memorize these rules and then show us that you learned them and then put them on paper. So I had more fun doing the trial team stuff.
Okay.
Loved that.
So you were, what was that, second or third year?
Trial team was second year and third year.
Okay.
But I really liked that. I also did the negotiation team. And how do you battle in a negotiation, or how do you do it? And there's different ways of evaluating your skills as a negotiator. I thought that was fascinating. And one of the concepts in negotiation was just how can you have people from different positions find this common ground, and it's looking behind people's wants and desires and looking at their interests, and you come to find that there's a lot of opportunity when you go beyond people's positions, and you try to find how could you expand the pie so we can work together. So it was fascinating concepts there.
So obviously it sounds like you benefited more and enjoyed more kind of the clinical aspect of law school and the real life courses. And that's one thing that me and Miguel always tell law students that we talk to. Take all the clinicals you can take. That's where you actually get some experience that's going to help you as a young attorney.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say if you have the opportunity to work, or I don't know if they still do this now, or if you can, where you work for a certain number of years and then you take the bar, as opposed to.
Isn't Kim Kardashian doing something like that? Right? Isn't the apprenticeship? Is that where you're kind of
Unsuccessfully, I think,
unsuccessful
for her.
Right.
Well,
But a lot of people do it, I think.
They do, right? California offers that, right?
You can still
where
do
you can work for somebody
3 or 4 years and then take the bar as opposed to going to law school.
I think it's the better way to go about it, because it's almost like what they do for doctors, right? You're a resident. Mm-hmm. You actually get to.
You're actually working in a hospital.
You're working in a hospital before you become official, right?
I wonder what the bar passage rates are for people that do that. I mean, I wonder if it's enough to be able to, because the bar is so intensive on these 8 subjects that you have to learn and memorize, I feel like it would be
probably
tough.
low.
I bet it's low.
Well, think about what they do is you go to law school. Do they teach you very much about how to run a business?
Zero.
Zero.
They teach you zero about that.
They teach you zero about that.
Yeah.
I mean, do they teach you, how to do sort of fundamental or pragmatic things like filing a complaint or knowing,
where to stand? Seriously,
yeah, they're like basic.
Serious,
yeah. Hey, you stand. You see this is where the plaintiff stands because it's closest to the jury box.
Yeah.
If you don't have, you don't learn that.
No, only in the couple of clinicals, right? Trial ad or trial team. Or
Exactly.
that's the only place they tell you that kind of stuff.
I don't teach you how. I mean, there's so much that goes into it that you don't know. And then they give you a license, and they're like, "Go practice now."
Yeah.
And it's like practicing is what I'm going to be doing because I don't know, my head from my rear end.
Yeah.
So it's. I don't know how much law school I've retained or used, but in my mind, I think it's a disservice to some degree to put people out there without the practical and the pragmatic aspect of things. I mean, it's very hard.
Well, look, Vineet and I, we met at law school at UCLA, and their goal is to push people into big law, right? And I think that's how I can best explain why they don't really teach those practical things, because they know they don't want you to kind of do your own thing. They want you to go to these corporations, these big old law firms, and of course, these big old law firms are the ones that are donating big time money to these law schools. By the way, we're having lunch with Dean Waterstone on Friday, so I love UCLA law. Don't get me wrong, but I do see how they push for big law, right? Which is a disservice because there's so many other areas of law that I think people should, be exposed to.
Everything is geared towards on-campus interviews.
The OCI.
At the beginning of your second year. So everything you do first year is geared toward make good grades, make good grades, make good grades, go to OCI and get a big law job. And then if you're not going in that route, they're like, oh, there's a small mid-fair job fair sometime later next
February, right?
February of the year. Go check it out. And that's it. That's all the advice they give you if you have any other interests besides becoming a corporate defense lawyer, basically, right?
Yeah,
which we'll talk to the dean about on Friday.
We will.
Well, they may come back and say, well, that's why there's an opportunity to, interview and work with people and network. I mean, this idea of networking was such a nebulous term, networking. I'm like, what is networking? It's just talking to people and making friends and developing and fostering relationships. But it's like, here's a networking event here. And I'm like, what? It was just weird to me. Because you just talk to people, get to know people, and that's really how you end up finding, a good job or something like that interests you. But you're right; the schools are. Well, you need to work for a judge, right? Try to get a judicial clerkship, or you got to get into these firms to do anything meaningful. And I think that can be a real disservice to a lot of young lawyers because. They may think they have to do that corporate route or they have to go work at a big firm.
And a lot of them don't know
successful.
Any better. A lot of them are the first ones in their family that go to law school. They don't have other influences telling them, no, you can actually do this. You can do this. You can go work for them. You can intern. You can do, and they get roll along with the wave, right?
I do think, though, one of the most important things about any profession, and in particular this one, is the mentorship. Having, you have to have that. I mean, we were just talking about we were talking about mentalists earlier today, and we had a mentalist come to our holiday party, and phenomenal. How do you become a mentalist? Well, somebody mentored me. And how do you become a trial lawyer? Well, I have a lot of mentors, and I mentor a ton of people that reach out that want to become a trial lawyer. Or you talk to some lawyers that are focused more on the business side and scaling a business and an operation. They had a mentor, right? Somebody else that did it. And so whether you're a litigator, whether you're a firm operator, whether you're a trial lawyer, there are some amazing mentors. And so you need that. You need that connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So law school is not going to necessarily give you that, right? But that's what you need, is you need to watch somebody, learn vicariously, and also participate in it. You can't just be on the sidelines, right? No one gets nice, fit, and strong by watching other people work out. It's helpful to see because it's some point of reference, but at the end of the day, you got to do it.
Yeah. No.
So Tom, I mean, one of the reasons we have you on here is because you're a great trial lawyer. You've done a lot of great things and won a lot of cases. So let's kind of get into that. Who were your mentors when you started out? Who taught you and steered you into the role where you are now?
Yeah, I heard about Jerry Spence a long time ago when I was in college, actually. And when I graduated...
and if we could just talk about Jerry Spence and who he was for people that are listening and don't know.
He's an incredible man, incredible trial lawyer, country lawyer out in Wyoming.
Passed
who
away
just passed away
yeah.
last year, who left an indelible mark on this profession and has changed and influenced so many lawyers for the better. And that's, I think, something that you don't always see. Is there's a lot of lawyers that get a bad rap and for right reasons, but this is a man who dedicated his life to helping other lawyers find a way to be themselves, be authentic, to connect with people, to do the right thing, to have integrity, to be able to see the value in themselves. I think that's one of the more beautiful things, is that when you realize you're good enough, that whoever you are, that just being you and being the real authentic version of you is good enough, and you don't have to be anybody else to be successful, and that, caring about other people is not weak. And this is one of the wonderful things about this profession. It's one of the only professions where you can make money and change people's lives for the better.
Yeah.
That's right.
Most things that I see out in this world where people make money or good money, right? Somebody's getting harmed. And that's really sad and unfortunate. Yeah. And then that spirals into a huge, that's what we fight. That's what I fight as a trial lawyer. Is I fight whether it's a corporation or an insurance company or a governmental entity. What has happened is they're doing things for the wrong reason. Because there are good corporations, there are good governments. We need truck drivers, for example. They're hardworking people that put food on the table and take it across, the country. We need them. But what about the ones that don't want to follow those rules or cut corners or are really reckless and they don't do anything about it, and they endanger everybody else out there, right? And they do that because they want more money or whatever it is. They'd rather spend money or put money in their pockets as opposed to training, whatever it may be. So, I known about Jerry, and he had a college, and I went there very early in my career, and I met some phenomenal lawyers. And one lawyer in particular, a criminal lawyer named Adrian Baca, I can't sing his praises enough, but he was a mentor to me for many, many years early on. And you say, how can you have a criminal lawyer as a mentor? And I think that's probably one of the best for civil lawyers, to have a criminal trial lawyer as a mentor. It teaches you how to look at cases differently. And he was just the type of guy where I could say, look, I want to try my opening. I want to try my closing. I want to work on this. And I was so hungry to become a good trial lawyer that I worked day and night. Even my wife knows. I was in trial when I proposed to her, when we got engaged. just recently we had our 10-year vow renewal. I was in trial then, and I was like, I had to tell the judge, you got to give me Friday off because I got to fly home, otherwise my wife's going to divorce me. I'm just, she wasn't, but we just had my third, and I was in trial then. Like literally, I was in.
She's told us that last night.
Yeah,
at the suite.
I was in trial, and the judge. I had to tell the judge, I'm like, my wife's pregnant. I was like, we have to finish this case at a certain point because my wife is due, and I had my wife come in just so I could be like, see, I'm not lying.
I'm not bullshitting. I mean,
Her water broke.
So she married a trial lawyer, and I dedicated my life to this craft. I dedicated my life to helping people and being a voice for them. And Adrian Bach was one of my first mentors, and a really, really important one, who has helped me. And then all the other lawyers that I just see, I watch them and I learn. I learn a little bit from everybody, but I'd say he was one that helped transform me, where I was winning the unwinnable cases.
Yeah. So when you first graduated law school, where did you start working after?
It's a good question. I think first 9 months, it was like 3 or 4 different jobs, just trying to find. The economy was really bad, and I wasn't the top 10% or 25%, and I wasn't.
What was it? 08, 09? 2010. So 2 years after the crisis, financial crisis, and all that.
Still pretty bad.
Yeah. So very bad. Very bad.
I actually there was a law firm that said they were going to sue all of these banks for all of these mortgages, for all of the fraudulent mortgage stuff that was going on. They were basically they were knowingly procuring mortgages for people that had insufficient ability, and they knew they were going to go belly up. I mean, they were just robbing people basically. So this firm said they were going to go prosecute all these people. Come to find out, this firm was not doing that. They were just signing people up so they could grow this thing and taking a retainer. And I left them within 3 weeks. I mean, it was hard initially to find a place to call home.
And you wonder what the end game is there, right?
Yeah.
Like what's the end game? You have
Get a little bit of money and then
you have 1,000 clients and
screw
then
all of them.
your business falls apart.
Oh, it's disgusting. I mean, I called the bar ethics hotline. I was like, look, something's not right here.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm fresh lawyer. I just knew something's not right, so I moved on from that. Then I did some insurance defense, and I didn't last very long there. I was there for like a couple weeks. I couldn't.
Seems like a bad fit for you.
Yeah.
Not a good fit. But they promised, they promised you depots and trials, and so I couldn't even last a month. You could feel, I don't know what it is, but when something it's not evil per se, but it's sad. Like the plants that aren't alive, they got a lot of plastic plants in like in-house insurance defense firms, and it's sterile, and people aren't necessarily happy.
Yeah.
I guess screwing people over doesn't make you happy.
I heard the term. I was at the gym the other day. I never see you. We go to the same gym, but we never see each other. Yeah. So one of us doesn't.
So
go that much.
I was gonna say, who's not going?
It's this guy that doesn't go that much. But I was there and I heard somebody. They were having a conversation, and the one guy said, "Oh, I'm an actuary and I work for an insurance company and I manage risk or whatever." And the other guy goes, is that one of those soul sucking jobs, or is that okay? And it just dawned. I was like, man, that's a great description of so many jobs out there. Soul sucking.
Yeah.
That insurance defense firm. Soul sucking.
Yeah. Soul sucking. But nowadays, there are firms. So I got in this to help people. In my mind, I always thought I loved the idea of like David and Goliath, and because both my parents told me stories of how they were persecuted and how hard things were for them. I just had a natural, maybe you don't call it natural, but at a very early age, if I saw something that didn't look right, it made me want to do something about it. It made me want to help. And when I hear how egregious some things are, you don't really need much fire to light in my belly. It's already there. And because I've seen what it's done to people. And so it's just a very natural feeling for me. If I see it, I smell it, I know it, and I want to help. And I think people either have that or they don't. But this soul-sucking thing, guess what? It's on our side too, right? It's not something
Sure.
that's just for insurance defense. I
Yeah.
don't want to cast this wide net that it's just because there are a lot of great defense lawyers that I work alongside that make the job, they're good people, and they're just doing their job. But I've seen some of the soul-sucking lawyers on the plaintiff side.
Yeah.
Soul-sucking jobs on the plaintiff side.
100%.
And they're no different than those insurance companies that treat people like a number and don't really care about them. And that I've seen that proliferate in our profession, unfortunately.
That is even worse than the insurance companies betraying their clients, because at least with that, you have a client that goes to an insurance company. There's no real trust. It's just a company that you're paying. It's a contract.
Mm-hmm.
Plaintiffs' attorneys, they gain people's trust, and then to betray it. It's
definitely
heartbreaking. It's disgusting. It's disappointing. And I really actually like that you're talking about that, because you may agree with me, but I feel that there's a lot more. There's a lot of plaintiffs' attorneys that know what's going on. They know there's bad actors on the plaintiff side, and they kind of just don't. They don't expose it. They don't really even talk about it. They pretend it's not there, and I think it's a shame. Like let's be honest, right? Not everybody's a good actor. Not everybody's there for their client's best interest, And so, I actually like that you're talking about that.
Yeah,
Well,
I appreciate that too.
That's what it's unfortunate for the consumers, though, because they don't know a good lawyer from a bad one,
Right.
And it's not their fault. It's not consumers. Here's another thing: as people, we are put in positions to be, to not have all the information, right? Our lives are so overwhelmed, as Americans in particular. Working hard. I mean, to have a family, how expensive is it to have a family, or to even rent or own a house, right? Americans are disenfranchised more and more. I mean, there's tons of opportunity. Sure, there's tons of opportunity. You could say that compared to a lot of other countries, but this isn't 2-3 generations ago where people can buy a house on a 9-to-5 income.
You can't make $100,000 now and have a house and 2 cars and take your kids on vacation and put them to college.
Yeah.
And it used to be like that.
Yeah.
Right.
It used to be, and it wasn't that the 80s.
It's true.
It used to be like that. Not
So
anymore.
You have to do so much. You have to do research if you're gonna, and a lot, right, to find, because you're like, oh well, I see this billboard, all the time, or I see this person on TV all the time. That's marketing. Marketing is obviously very important, but marketing is what puts bad lawyers in out there. There's some lawyers that have never seen a courtroom, or maybe they've never litigated, or they don't even know how to file a complaint, but they spend a lot of money on marketing, and they create a nice jingle, or they got familiarity.
Or they got a million billboards.
Yeah, and then consumers, that has value, and then consumers will say, well, they must be a good firm if they have all of that, and lo and behold, they're not really in it for the best interests of the clients.
Sure.
So some of the heaviest marketers may not be for the people.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. And it really, unfortunately, people have to do their research, and they have to try to verify that these attorneys, whoever they go with, are really in it because they care, And I always tell people that when they come to our office, we have Zooms with clients early on, and I like to tell people, look, you're meeting with an attorney, me from the office. One of the biggest complaints I get from just people out on the street is that they have had cases with other firms and they don't even know who their attorney was. And I'm sure you've heard that a million times. Yep. They don't even know what they look like, who they are. They've spoken to a paralegal or a case manager, and that's about it. And they don't really know. And they may have, some severe injuries. And you're just thinking, man, that's how you go about your business. It's not the right way to do it.
No,
it's a shame.
And it's bad business because those people are not going to be repeat clients, right? And what's the cheapest way you can get a client? It costs you $0 marketing dollars to take care of a client and then get referrals from them.
Yeah.
Right?
It's hard. It's hard to, it takes time to care about somebody. It really does. And to get to know somebody, to really represent them, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. I mean, as a trial lawyer, I go to people's houses. You know, why do you go to their house? And I want to. There's so much. The house is, you know, your house is where home is, so to speak. I know that sounds a little like, did I just say the same thing? But you think about, I mean, we just moved, and there's so much of our lives and memories and story that are at our old house. I mean, even my 3-year-old daughter's like, I miss our old house. But what she misses really is the memories and the familiarity and what, you know, what her little room signifies, right? Or what the kid, you know, what these things signify. And so going to somebody's house is a very intimate and very powerful place to learn a lot about the person you represent so that you can tell their story to 12 strangers. And those 12 strangers can now feel the connection and feel the love and say to themselves, I want to help this person. I see why, I see their value, I see who they are, and it ain't so different from me.
I see what they've lost because of whatever happened.
Or better yet, what's been taken from them.
There you go.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, you know, your development as a trial attorney.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process. I'll be the first to tell you that every case I start from scratch, and I look at the case and I see what it needs. What is it that I'm going to have to do to get the result that I believe is the righteous one, that is fair and just. But the development part it's an ongoing thing. There is, you know, one of the beautiful things about being a trial lawyer is your lifespan, your longevity is longer than that of an athlete, right? Yeah. You don't have to, you know, at some point we were talking about LeBron James or you talking about Michael Jordan, like their career has to come to an end on the basketball court, right?
Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah.
It's true, but you know what? Being a trial lawyer, it's just a longer one, but it's the same thing. I mean, at some point, it's hard. There's a grind to it. It is, you know, you're working very, very hard, and there's a lot of stress and pressure. There's not a 40, 50-hour week, you know, when you're in trial. It's, you know, 60, 70, 80, 90. I mean, it's a real deal. And you start to feel it. Trying cases in my late 20s and 30s is different than trying cases now in my 40s. I mean, I could feel the difference. I prioritize, you know, eating right, exercising, sleep, getting my sleep, you know, and making sure, you know, I have people around me that can help and having a whole team that can get behind it. So part of my development is developing people around me so that they can help and make my life easier. I mean, at the end of the day, the less energy I spend on trivial things or things that aren't the most important, the better. It's energy management to some degree.
And you can focus on the important things.
That's right. And the really good trial teams, it's energy management, right? Then that's really what is a big part of it is, okay, this person's going to focus on the motions or these arguments. This person's going to focus on making sure witnesses are ready. And that's one of the hardest things actually is just getting witnesses to show up, prepping witnesses. Right, so having a team where you can delegate responsibility is very, very important. And when I first started trying cases, it was like just me. I was at a firm and I just go try a case by myself, and I'm like, that was insane.
Yeah.
You know,
what experience you're gaining?
Yeah,
right.
Then there's like two of you. Then you know you learn and you build on that. I think the development has always been how can I continue to be better, and watching other people, picking up things. I mean, I teach now. I had been invited, so here I was going to Jerry Spence a year or two out of law school, and now I'm an instructor there.
Nice.
So now I get to give back, and I don't get paid for any of that stuff. I mean, it's all volunteer work, and I probably, you know, we talk about pro bono work, probably 25 to 30% of my time on an annual basis is spent mentoring other lawyers and teaching other lawyers. I don't get paid. I mean, I don't do it for that. So many people help me. I'm just paying it back to these people that really want to be there and get there. So it's just a nonstop process, and it's a depreciating skill set and assets. So if you're not going into the courtroom and you're not working on your skills, you will be very, very rusty. So you have to continually work on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about some of your trials, cases that you've had that are just stand
it's
out.
the hard one. What's the most interesting case you've had?
Yeah.
It's an interesting case. I mean, there's so many interesting cases. I think that we've had cases where you don't expect certain outcomes. And this is not my biggest verdict or
We'll talk about that next.
Yeah.
We'll let you toot your horn a little bit about the biggest verdict, but tell us about this one.
I mean, I've tried 57 cases, jury trials. And I remember one case, there's a lot of these companies out there that transport people to and from medical appointments.
Okay.
They're just vans. They're not paramedics or medical people. It's called non-emergency medical service or non-emergency medical transportation companies. They get a van. They pick up people that have mobility issues, that have whatever it may be. They could be demented, and they pick them up from a convalescent home. Maybe they take them to dialysis, whatever it could be. A lot of these companies, they popped up, right, because they know one of the biggest population. Elderly people is one of the largest populations. You get more convalescent homes, services for elderly anyway. What do you expect? So these people are in it for the money, of course, some of them, and they don't train their people properly. They spend money on people that aren't qualified or maybe have a bad, like some other companies, they hire people with a really bad past, right? And they don't look into it on purpose, because if they did, then they would have notice of it. Mm-hmm. So these people, they're not properly trained, and they take elderly people, and oftentimes they don't secure them. They don't know how to secure them in their wheelchair or in the van, and these people can fall down. They can get seriously hurt. And I had a case where we had somebody who was severely demented. She had end-stage renal failure. She was a diabetic, so she was an amputee. She had one leg. Oh, man. And she was being transported from her convalescent home to dialysis. And the company was a company that didn't train its employees. They didn't have any formal training. And this guy put her in the van, didn't strap her in, takes some wild turns. She goes flying, breaks her femur on her good leg, the leg that she's got.
Oh, okay.
And they don't do anything. They just pick her up, plop her back on the chair. They don't even recognize that she's got a broken leg. And they let her sit through dialysis for I don't know how many hours with a broken leg, which is excruciating. Wow. She can't talk. She's nonverbal. Oh, my God. So terrible, right? But her leg heals, and her own doctors say that, you can't tell a difference. I mean, basically, she's back to her old self.
Yeah.
All right. So they gave me this case to try, and we would have settled the case for an amount. I mean, we were like, look, we get it. She had a bad break. And there was an offer on the table to settle it that her family would have accepted on her behalf. I think it was about like $200,000 or $250,000, and they wouldn't pay it. They were just they're being dicks about it. And I said to myself, what's the story here? I mean, I was trying to find what was going on, and so I went to her convalescent home, to this lady's home. She can't talk though. And I'm like, how am I going to tell this story? So I met with her daughter, and I met with her sister at the home. And I'm sitting there, and my father had dementia. He was much older, as I mentioned. And so I just have something about me when I see people in that situation. I don't know. It just feels like I got to do something. And maybe that's because of my dad. But anyway, I was sitting there and watching her. She's in this bed, and I watched every time a nurse came to her. And I watched even as I approached her, and she's sitting on the bed. And every time somebody came here to help her, to change her or to move her on the bed, she had this reaction that was something like, if you've ever been to a shelter, like an animal shelter for dogs or cats, and you've seen a dog or cat that's been abused, when you go to pet them, what they do?
They flinch a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah.
They flinch, don't they?
Yeah.
They're scared. They think you're going to hit them. And every time somebody came to her bed, she flinched, and then she would grab the bed real hard. And it occurred to me at that point that when you are a dependent adult, you're dependent on other people for a quality of life. And the only way that you can have a quality of life if you're a dependent adult and you depend on other people is you have to trust them. And what they did to her, they broke her trust. And so the very little sliver of quality of life that she had left, they had taken that away from her. So what I told the jury is they did not just break her leg, they broke her trust. And they took away whatever she had left to have some kind of quality of life. And for that case, the jury gave me $1.5 million. I didn't put any medical expenses because there weren't anything. And they told me they would have given me more money, but I didn't call any doctors. I didn't have any doctors to call, you know. But, you know, a case like that to me, I don't even know if that was enough money because you're looking at, you know, how egregious it was, and you're looking at what that meant. And to me, it meant, you know, it meant everything. For her, it meant everything, and so in my eyes, it meant everything. So it meant more than that. So I don't even know if I'm necessarily proud of that because it could have been the amount bigger in my mind. But the idea was that when you're looking for how somebody has been harmed or what's been taken from them, there's much more than what we're used to. Because someone would just say, well, there's no medical expenses. This is a terrible case. And, you know, your client is old and because she's so sick and, you know, vulnerable, what's the value of her life? And that's an ugly way of looking at things, I think. And it takes away from what's so precious to us. So that was a case where I felt like I did my job. I did what I was supposed to. I figured, you know, I told the right story and, you know, I helped somebody. And maybe I helped other people too because that company is going to look at things differently after a verdict like that.
Right. You would hope, you know.
You would hope.
Yeah.
You would hope.
That's deep, man.
Yeah.
You know, especially, you know, older people. My mom's 78, you know, and I mean, she's mobile and she's not dependent on people like that. But still, I mean, you know, as you get older, you are more dependent on other people. And if you have trust that is broken, I mean, how do you come back from that?
And it affects every interaction she's going to have for the rest of her days, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and I think, you know, each case has sort of its different, its nuances. But I think finding out how to tell a story early on. I mean, another case I had where it was a products liability case with a defect. I mean, a motorcycle. Suzuki was knowingly manufacturing Gixxers, the GSX, GRX motorcycle. The short name's Gixxer, but they were knowingly manufacturing motorcycles where the brakes weren't working properly and putting them out into the market. And I mean, we didn't have the bike. Our client was okay, relatively speaking. I mean, he had a broken patella. Okay, he's gonna walk with a limp kind of for the rest of his life. Okay. But his motorcycle didn't hit the car. I mean, a car pulled out in front of him, and he just tried to stop and couldn't stop in time.
Because the brakes didn't work.
Yeah, because the brakes didn't work.
And he went flying.
But it was so the science of it was so complicated. I mean, I tried it with a buddy of mine. He was explaining it to me. I'm like, man, I don't understand what you're telling me. He would say, well, you know, the piston and this liquid and this metal and at the end of the day, what had happened is they were putting two different materials together for the brakes that were having a corrosive effect. I'm already losing you guys, and I was like, they're already losing me. So I'm like, how's a jury going to resonate with this? Like, we had all these scientific experts, and
how do you simplify it?
I was like, you know what? They made a motorcycle with the brakes that don't work. I'm like, that's all we're gonna tell them.
That's all you need to know.
I know, and the jury they were a hostile jury at first, and then. People were just like, I hate motorcyclists. That's very common. Yeah. I think if you drive a motorcycle, it's like driving a coffin, right? Or, you know, if you drive a motorcycle, you're asking for
You're rolling the dice.
Yeah. And I have a bunch of people like that. What do you do as a trial lawyer? You got a bunch. You go home and cry. you're going to say to yourself, now a lot of people would hear that and they'd be like, oh, I don't want to ask any more questions. Poisoning the jury. You know, like the last thing I want is another person telling me how motorcycles are terrible, right? Because that's poisoning the jury. And I said to myself, I said, this is good. First of all, I want these people to tell me how they really feel. Now, if I'm scared of what they're saying, that means, one, I'm not going to be able to connect with them, with these people that are telling me motorcyclists are basically, you're an idiot for driving a motorcycle.
And it's your fault if you get hurt. Right.
You want to know something, though? You want to know the truth? There's a part of me that feels that way, too. There's a part of me, I don't drive a motorcycle.
It's a risky activity.
It's a risky activity.
Right.
I don't drive a motorcycle because I see how many people get killed. I see how many cars don't see them, and I don't want to get killed. I mean, but I could get killed in a car, and right, knock on wood. But you have to ask yourself: is there something in there that you believe too? Do you feel the same way? And I listen to these people tell me this, and I said, you know what? There's a part of me that feels that way too, and I don't drive a motorcycle. But here I am representing a motorcyclist. And I guess, you think about it, like, because they're driving a motorcycle or riding a motorcycle, does that mean do we just leave this? Why are we even trying this case then? I mean, should we just say, you know what, you rode a motorcycle, it's your fault. They have no rights. You have no rights. Right. You know what, anyone can run you over. I'd be like, well, no. No, that's not right. But I said, all right, motorcycles are dangerous. That's fair.
Right.
What do you think would make them more dangerous?
Brakes that don't work.
Yeah. And literally somebody said, well, I go, you think if you're driving a motorcycle, you think it'd be important for the brakes to work?
To be able to stop.
Yeah, and people are like, well, yeah, of course.
Duh.
And I'm like, well, if we know they're so dangerous, why would a company ever make a motorcycle where they knowingly, they know that the brakes don't work? What do you think about that? Oh, well, that's crazy. So that's crazy. I agree with you. Right, so now the narrative.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Now, rather than
Yeah.
now, somebody who's scared in the middle of that might be like, I don't want to talk about this anymore, or they might start to argue. Well, motorcyclists have rights too, don't they? Mm-hmm. Right now, think about that. If you said to me, Tom, motorcycles are dangerous, and I said, well, Vineet, they have rights too, don't they? And that's important. What am I doing?
You're arguing with me.
I am. Now, what if I said, you know what, you're right, Vineet. Motorcycles are dangerous. Can you think of something that would make them more dangerous?
Not having brakes that work.
Well, right. Now, are we arguing or are we having
connecting?
Having a conversation, and you're convincing me,
Yeah.
and you're persuading me.
But I'm not really. I'm just saying that's the truth, though, right? And that's the case. And so a lot of times people will, someone says, I don't like lawyers. You want to know something? Some lawyers I don't like either. I mean, right? So there's truth to it. Or somebody says, they're frivolous lawsuits. There are frivolous lawsuits. I mean, there's some people in the newspaper about frivolous lawsuits, and that's true, right? There are some, and I don't like them either because they hurt me too.
That's right.
Right. So when people are when you're talking to people, you got to think about how you feel about it and connect with them rather than just arguing with them. So every trial has that component in it, and I think that is what allows for an honest conversation with these folks that are strangers at first, but you're building a relationship too, and you're connecting with them, and you're being open and honest about it because there's a part of you that probably feels the same way to some degree about what they're saying.
Yeah.
How did that case end up?
$10 million.
There you go.
There you go.
Nice.
I mean, and so, but I think the money is. So some people are like, well, it's a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. $1 million is a lot of money. $10 million, that's a ton of money. And there is a group of people because I'm not the one that picked the number. Like, right? I didn't render the verdict. The jury did.
Right.
So when you hear these numbers, whether it's $1 million, 500,000, 100 million, there was a group of people, 12 people generally, right, in California, that heard all of the information, and they came to that decision, right? So they felt that was righteous and just. Otherwise, they wouldn't have delivered that verdict. Sure. And maybe that's a product of how it was presented in the story and what was going on. But I think, if you're going to do a real good job and you're going to connect with people, what's one thing I think that we can all agree on is that life is life, health, the ability to spend time with your kids and have freedom to if you want to go skiing, if you want to go ice skating, if you want to go to Japan, if you want to go to a Lakers game, to have the freedom to do that, the health to do that, that's priceless. And if you were to think what number is that, what number is comparable to that, it's a lot of money.
But in your closing though, I'm assuming you did talk about numbers. And,
You have to.
right? I mean, yeah. So, how do you like for a case like that? How did you approach that?
For a case like that, you can look at it a number of different ways. I mean, by the time you get to closing, if you have not been, authentic, if you have not, you tell the jury, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. If you didn't do X, Y, and Z, by the time you get to closing, it doesn't matter what you do. You're probably going to lose that case, or you're going to get a number that's less than whatever you asked for. There's a whole range of thoughts on what you can do in closing. And generally, I go with a number that feels comfortable to me. I mean, what I try to put myself, in law, we have this thing called the golden rule. You're not supposed to do that to the jury, right? You're not supposed to say, the golden rule in its very specific form is you can't ask jurors in closing, how much would you take for this injury? So if somebody busted your patella and how much money would you take for that? That's the classic golden rule. But I golden rule myself. And I think, what would I take to have gone through that? And I think about it, and I obviously have thought about the value of money and what it means. And if somebody took my ability away, my ability to practice this profession, that's invaluable to me. I don't think there's any money I would take. Or if somebody took the ability to, connect with my kids or my wife, there's no money I would take. So that puts me, if I think about it like that, then there really isn't any money. I want billions. But then, the law it says you got to be reasonable about it. So I don't know and then there's a whole host of analogies that lawyers like to use and use, and it's been beaten. Whether you're using an analogy to a painting or whatnot, I think we would benefit from being more creative and working on that. I think a lot of people, being a trial lawyer, everyone borrows each other's stuff.
Sure.
That's just how it is. But I think you gain their trust. You show them what the defendant did was not just careless, but what they did was pretty reckless, and it was intentional. They knew.
And how much does that play into it? Malfeasance of the defendant, like a corporate defendant who is intentionally, right?
I think
putting this product on the road that they know is not safe.
How do you feel if somebody made a mistake versus somebody intentionally did something?
It's a big difference.
It's a big difference,
right?
Yeah.
And a lot of these corporations or a lot of these bad actors, they probably know what they're doing. They made a choice at some point.
Yeah.
And there's a point of no return, right? It could be as simple. There's a choice even if you drink and drive, or there's a choice if you choose not to train the people that work for the corporation on how to do things the right way, or if you see somebody doing it the wrong way, to either get rid of that person or to make sure you rehabilitate them or train them so they do it the right way. So there's choices. And I think the better ability you have to reveal that to jurors, the better ability you are to show that this is more than just a mistake, which is what they'd like you to believe.
Right. Right.
Well, as we wrap up, as a trial lawyer, give us 5 tips that I think you would like to impart on the audience, just in general, trial related, anything.
I think one of the most important things is to find your own voice, and this is something. If you're a trial lawyer, you're modeling different things, and you see somebody do something, you're like, oh, I want to do that, or I want to try that, or that looks really good. And I think it's important to try things out. But at the end of the day, whether you're a trial lawyer, a litigator, take depots, run your firm, you got to be true to yourself, right? If you're marketing and you think that this is going to work for me because it works for that person, that may not, right? So even on a marketing, like if you're not being authentic in your marketing, it's going to come through.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think finding your voice is really important. The other thing I think is that if you're not continually trying to improve and learn, it's almost akin to dying.
Yeah.
And I've always had a curiosity. I've always wanted to learn to become better. So I am always, how can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father? How can I be a better trial lawyer? I mean, I just called somebody on the way here that most of our cases are referrals from other lawyers. We don't do a lot of marketing, but we do market in different ways. And I called a lawyer that we've been working together. I haven't spoken to her in about a month, and I just checked in and I said, how are we doing? Is there anything we can do better that you're seeing? Everyone has different perspectives. So continually trying to find ways to become better at serving others is really, really important. The other thing I would say is that, there are times where it's important to evolve and reinvent yourself in different ways. I mean, that's just part of life. I mean, as you're learning, you grow, and in that growth, you may find that the person you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago, you're just different, right? And maybe that's just a natural progression, but being sort of connected to that growth, and welcoming it, too.
Not being scared of it.
Yeah.
Not being scared of it,
Right.
right? I mean, maybe it's. Sometimes I've seen people, and there's probably some comedians that talk about this too, but there were times where I'd see somebody eating alone. I'd be like, man, I feel sorry for that person. Now I'm like, can I get a moment of peace and quiet? like if I can enjoy for a moment, if I could be like just to have that peace. So I guess having perspective and being open to those changes, are important. Another thing I'd say really, good business. What good business is finding something where you can help others. That's a good business. And that's really what business should be. Mm-hmm. Like whether you're an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever, if you find something that people need or want and it is helpful to them, that is good business. And you will be in business if you're doing that at the end of the day. So sometimes there's a negative connotation with business or capitalism or just making money. But at the end of the day, if you have a service or a product, whatever it is that you're doing, and you're actually serving others, that is good business. And then I think at the end of the day, don't forget.
We have young lawyers that come in here all the time, or people that interview or whatever who we meet. And one of the things we always tell them is, look, we help people and we make good money, and it's not mutually exclusive.
Right.
Yeah.
You can do both. You can make a lot of money and live a great life, and you can help a lot of people. And you have to just find the right thing to do, and it works both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then I was just going to say, look, if you're going to hire a lawyer, make sure you do your due diligence. And just like you would with a doctor or anybody else,
It is.
Find out, is this a law firm that litigates? Is this a law firm that tries cases? Look at it. And just because...
Do they have 1,000 5-star Google reviews?
Yeah.
Right. I think trying to be as informed as possible when you're hiring, somebody, checking them out, and also it's a feel. Make sure you talk to a lawyer, right? So if you're gonna sign up with the firm, whatever your case may be, you should talk to a lawyer at some point. So that would be a first red flag, is if you never talk to a lawyer, right? Or you're on their website and there is no lawyer on the website. I mean, I think you gotta have some sort of connection with that person, and it's like picking anybody else. Like I've seen doctors, They might say that's a really good doctor, but they got really bad bedside manners. That might not be somebody that I want to taking care of me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Their priorities may be somewhere else.
Yeah. Be yourself. That was great. Be true. It's been a really good chat, and we I'm sure we'll do a part 2 because we probably have more trial stories to hear that are super interesting.
We can for sure fill another hour or two with,
and this
with
time
stories.
This time I'll participate in the vino.
In the discussion, right?
Yeah.
It was
In the discussion.
a well-chosen bottle.
Yeah, I know that is true.
That's
is
right.
true.
That's
Tom,
right.
thank you very much.
Hey,
We
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it. Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
buddy.
Really appreciate it,
Vineet.
man. That was
Thank
great.
you, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Sidebar Sessions by CD Law. Subscribe to our podcast channel and follow us at CD Law Firm. Wine picks are welcome. From Custodio and Dubey, your personal injury law firm. We'll see you next time.